episode 4 of Anime and Us. I'm TJ.
And I'm Shawn.
And this is the anime review show that reviews anime from A to Z. Sort of.
So last time we spun the wheel for the B category, and it gave us Blue Gender. Blue Gender originally aired in 1999 to 2000 in Japan. It was written by Katsumi Hasagawa and Ryusuke Takahashi.
Yeah.
Hopefully I didn't butcher them too bad.
No, I would have butchered them. That was sounded the Japanese name. So.
What's interesting, though, is what if I am butchering it and we just don't know it?
Well, it's better than me completely butchering it than actually knowing it. So, anyway, Blue Gender, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, that's about it. Yeah.
When did it
aired
air?
in Cartoon Network in 2002 to 2003, I believe.
Oh, okay. Alright, well, I guess that's a screwed up intro, but anyway. Let's get started with Blue Gender then. Alright, so I guess we need to start with the obvious here and talk about,
Not safe for work. Just putting that out there. Not that we cared before, but it's going to be a little graphic.
Oh yeah, it's definitely graphic. I mean, I don't know what the manga was like, but there is some gratuitous nudity in this, and...
The nudity isn't too bad, let's be honest. It's a couple boob shots here and there. It's not terrible. There's or actually probably 2 or 3 sex scenes. But they're not graphic.
There was 2...
I've seen worse sex scenes on cable television.
Sure, but there was 2 essential rooms separated in this that was just devoted to orgies.
Yeah, definitely. But like I said, it wasn't too graphic. You know what I mean?
No.
You knew what was happening. They sort of showed it, but it was very dark. It wasn't explicit.
I don't know if it was... No, there was one really well-lighted room in there.
Well, most of it. But even so, like, what I'm saying is there's more graphic on cable TV than what they physically showed. Like, they're doing it.
I'm not denying that it is. It was just interesting to see their take on what future sex and stuff was going to be like considering...
Like, it just happens.
Yeah,
someone sexually assaults you. Like, the 2 chicks.
Yeah.
The one time, the one girl just kind of grabbed the other one. And she was like, oh, let's do this.
Yeah. It's just... And, like, first few minutes of... Not the first few minutes, but, like...
15 minutes
15 minutes into
like
the first episode, the guy just comes up behind the girl and starts feeling her up.
Yeah, that was weird. And, I mean... I guess you're led to believe that it's not the first time this happened.
Sure, but you're led to believe that's just how it works in this thing. I mean, there's one point where the main protagonist, the girl protagonist, Marlene Angel, is being hit on by the Rick guy.
Who, Rick, by the way, is voiced by Shawn who is Goku.
Oh, that's awesome.
The person who voices Oolong, which I think is also Shawn not 100% sure, plays some side character. I don't remember his name. No one important.
Right, but I mean, he hits on her, and they go into that sex room, essentially, and she says no, and that's the end of it. So, I mean, it's not like... It's just interesting.
Yeah, it's a little odd.
It's a little odd how it works.
Well, they do sort of explain it in that first episode. Yuji starts asking her, like, hey, I saw you in... Or maybe it was the second or third episode. No, that was the third episode. But you and the captain were going at it, and she's like, well, in this kind of life, when we could die any moment, you gotta...
We needed each other that
Exactly.
night.
So, I mean, it makes a little sense.
Yeah, and that Yuji Kaito is the main character of this.
Yes, he is.
So, that's who we were references in that aspect of it. But before we dive into the anime a little bit here, let's just get the vagina joke thing out of the way. Hey, you want to explain what's going on?
Blue Gender is set in the future in 2000...
Wait, the far future of 2017. Oh, wait, it's like 2000...
Well, 2017 is when the blue emerged from the Earth.
Right.
And I believe it's 2030 or something like that.
So the apocalypse started...
2030 is when the series is set in.
The apocalypse happened this year. I don't know.
Last year.
Last year, I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys missed it or not, but it did happen.
Apparently it happened. So the apocalypse happens in 2017. These blue, which are giant monster creatures, emerge from the planet, trying to eradicate humans. Now, when you look at them, their mouth always looks like a vagina, typically with teeth. Pulsating. And their weak point is a giant clitoris above their mouth, typically. Sometimes it's in a different spot.
Yeah, most of the time.
What's hilarious is later in the series, they also get a hood to protect the clitoris.
And so, of course, that's led to numerous jokes over the years and stuff.
All over the place on the internet. I mean, any discussion of Blue Gender, typically, vagina monsters pops up.
Now, I want to talk about a little bit about the psychology behind the 2 writers behind this a little bit here. Like in the first 2 episodes that we watch, because we usually watch the first 2 episodes together to see if we're gonna dive into it fully or not, because if it's really, really bad...
Like the first episode that I didn't want to continue.
Yeah, it was only 8 episodes.
It was so bad.
It was not even 8, it was 6 episodes, so it was like
it was 8.
If you're going to make me watch...
7, I don't remember.
It was something I have it written down, it doesn't matter. I don't know, but it was so short, it was like, if I'm putting my time into it, I'm putting my time into it, you know? But anyway, we watched the first 2 episodes, and I was joking about how the guys were missing the thing, so they're not experienced missing the clitoris and killing the monster. So they were missing because they don't know their way around it.
They kept shooting around it. They're not very good at aiming.
And then I said the girl must have much experience because she did it in one shot.
Yeah, pulled up her gun, boom, one shot.
So it was just a joke, but that got me thinking, wow, these guys are either really sexually frustrated and repressed, or really sexually liberated and just really love that aspect of
the writers.
Right, the writers behind it. And then as I'm watching and I'm thinking about it, and I'm seeing all these violent deaths, but if you notice, all the guys in this get like heroic deaths and chopped in half in the
for the most part, yeah.
Max. But the girls are unceremoniously killed off easily. Like the first 2 killed are the girls. One gets her neck snapped in a truck, and the other one smashes her head in it. And then later, all the guys are getting killed in mechs.
Well, there's also not too many female pilots. I think there's only 2 that we see. Marlene and what's the other one names?
There's really no.
She's a sleeper.
Oh, Alicia Whistle.
Alicia, yes.
That's later in the thing. And she's only like 12 or something like that.
Yeah, but my point is that there's not too many female pilots, so of course they're not going to get heroic deaths.
But even so, they show them get killed off differently than the guys. Like, even later, there's one of the commanders is a woman. She comes out, and all of a sudden, she's cut in half on the ground. Mm. And you see this in detail. Whereas the guys, you only see them, like, this heroic explosion, and I'm thinking, maybe it's not like sexual repression and stuff. Maybe they really don't like women and frustrated with women.
It's possible.
But then...
Shoot that clitoris.
But then, it evolved even more when all of a sudden we have a gratuitous lesbian scene. And all of a sudden we have lesbians in this. And then I got to thinking, wait a minute here. This is like someone showing you something over and over, trying to convince you that, yeah, I'm straight. So I'm like, these guys are probably homosexual at this point.
That's messed up. We should have done some research on that one.
I mean,
just to find out.
This is obviously my opinion and my suspicion of how it went into it, and could be no means true at all. But that's just how my mind evolved watching the series and just the psychology behind the show. Because what really set it off is you take out the monsters and all the death and stuff there. There's just a scene where they're looking through a visor. And on the side, there's just lines pulsating in and out. In and out. So obvious, just like everything else. And I was like, there is something here, and it just makes me think there's this way they're just throwing it in my face so much.
I mean, it's possible, subliminal messaging and all that.
It's throwing it in my face so much. We're not, you know? It's so...
Little conspiracy theorist over here.
It's my major in psych kind of kicked in there. So, I couldn't help it. I always wanted to talk about it and get it out of the way since, it's been a major theme and meme over the years and stuff like that.
So I ended up liking the show a bunch.
Alright,
It's got its issues for sure.
So, my opinion on this series is a little more complicated than yours.
Yes. Someone has,
I have 4 different opinions on it.
You always have a lot of opinions. You can't just like something or not like something.
Well, I know, but it's because they don't give me a simple anime. It's not Cowboy Bebop.
It's complex.
It's not Cowboy Bebop where it's just awesome.
There's real emotions in here.
Yeah. Well, looking at it objectively, I would say up to episode 23, it's decent. I'll even say it's a good anime. It's worth your time.
You don't like the last few episodes?
The ending ruined it for me.
Yeah?
Adding the ending into it, it brought it down.
What do you mean, the last episode or the 2 episodes before the last episode?
After they cleared up the whole Tony situation.
So, towards the end of the show, one of the sleepers is trying to kill all the humans because their B cells, or the B cells stand for blue, actually. You don't really know that till later on, but they have blue cells inside of them. That makes them really good at combat.
We didn't even explain what sleepers are or anything like that. So,
well, let's start it.
So, essentially, We'll get back. We'll get to that as we dive into the episode. But in the end, there's an antagonist who tries to kill all the humans for the monsters.
I didn't like that.
No.
I didn't like that at all.
No,
That felt stupid.
Overall, it just made sense within the context of the story and stuff like that. You need an antagonist, whatever. But then they tack on these last 3 or 4 episodes.
I liked those. Those were good.
No,
Do you know why I liked those?
Why?
Because it gives you closure to the story. I hate open-ended stories endings because I'm reading or watching a story or watching some sort of media. It's supposed to entertain me. It's supposed to be a story. Stories have endings.
Yeah, no,
right? When you give me the Inception type of ending where I get to decide what's happening, I fucking hate it.
No, I get that. And I will explain when we get there how they could have done a better ending without adding the crappy ending that they put on. But that ending brought it down to an okay, from a good anime to an okay anime for me. But that's my objective opinion.
Okay. Anyway, let's talk about your unobjective opinion.
My personal opinion, I went into this bias. As you know, I don't like mechs or giant monsters.
So anime is going to be rough for you.
Well, I know. There are plenty of animes that have neither of those things. So, but that was 2 strikes against it automatically. But I still gave it a chance. But then Yuji Kaito, the main character, I did not like him.
Why? The beginning's a little rough, but if you think about it in the beginning, so a sleeper, in 2009, they find that there's a bunch of people in the populace that have these cells in them called the B cells is what they call them. And they tell the people with B cells that you will die if we can't put you to sleep, and then one day maybe we'll find a cure and we can wake you up and cure you. Where was I going with that?
You were defending Yuji Kaito.
Oh, anyway. So he's asleep until 2030-ish, and he wakes up from, he was in our world. Everything's great. He's in a first world country. It's fantastic. And he wakes up in 2030. It's an apocalypse. Everything's burning. Everyone's dead. It's terrible. He's being thrust into battle, and he's crying, and he pisses his pants. So it makes sense for the first few episodes for him to be a little bitch. It makes sense.
I'm not complaining about that. I understand that. And like I said, when we dive deeper into it, I will explain my problems with Yuji Kaito. It's not his beginning problem. He gets worse for me as the series continues on.
But it makes sense for him to get worse.
And I don't like the all this. I'll get into it in a little bit, but yeah.
So you didn't like Yuji?
I didn't like Yuji, and so I was like, I just didn't really like it and that's just my objective. That's my personal opinion, and that's just me. Up to episode 23, and then that ended. I hated it.
I mean, they could have done it better. They could have done it a lot better, but I do like the closure.
I'll like I said, we'll get into that, but I just.
So what's 4?
That was only. That was 4.
What was the 4?
4th was when you add in the ending, I hate it.
Oh, okay.
3 was up until episode 23. I didn't like it, but that's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. I would actually still recommend you to go see it and watch it at that point. It's just I personally didn't.
I would still recommend people to watch it. It's decent for its time. It's dated. You can tell it's a bit dated, but it's good for its time. Yeah,
and like I said, up until you add in that ending, I thought so too.
All right. Yeah. So, all right.
But now, before we dive deeper, I just want to say, this is a romance story.
It's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of sci-fi. It's a lot of romance, actually. Surprisingly,
it's a romance story disguised as a sci-fi action adventure. Because this is,
I'll give you that. Yeah,
this is and it's not even a very good romance story.
It's not terrible. I've seen a lot worse, especially in anime. Trust me. When you watch some, you'll understand.
No, I get you. I get you. But my opinion isn't just because it's the evolution of the female protagonist, Marlene.
Yeah, same with Yuji's evolution throughout the series. It's it happens at odd points, and there's not an easy transition between his different personality traits.
Right. So, all right, now diving into it, I kind of broke this up into 3 parts.
Let's do it. Take the lead.
The first part of it is he wakes up, and you explain that humans survived because they sent like 100,000 people up into space into a space station.
Well, 2 space stations, but yes.
2 space stations.
You don't learn about that till later.
But so they're down here looking for what they're called sleepers, which are obviously the people who were infected with the B cells and needed to be put in cryogenic sleep. So they find Yuji, who somehow, I don't know if they ever explain how he got resuscitated.
I think the people that were carrying him, we were kind of talking when we watched it. The people that were carrying him got shot and he fell and the lid kind of cracked open. And so I think he just woke up on his own.
But didn't they say that they can only be revived up in...
That, I think that's a translation issue. I think you were only supposed to revive them on the space station.
Because I know because when they got to the airport and that, like, first or second episode, he tried to wake them up and he said, you can't because they can only be revived. We don't even...
Yeah, I think that was a translation issue.
Okay. I was a little confused by that. So they wake him up and, of course, he's introduced to his love interest, like, in epic fashion.
Who's super hot, by the way.
Yeah, her name, we had said it before, her name's Marlene Angel, his name's Yuji Kaido. So they rescue him, and we're introduced to the big vagina monsters. The blue.
Had to kill him, had to run away.
Yeah, so... And pretty much the first 9 or 10 episodes are them trying to get him to a space station and get him up to space, because we don't know why.
Yeah, they don't really tell you why at first. Just that he's got B cells, and we got to get you to space. That's their mission.
And there's a bunch of hijinks and stuff crap that goes wrong.
A bunch of all their teammates eventually die. It's just him and Marlene.
Well, I just want to dive into it, but I want to explain. In the beginning, Yuji Kaido is kind of a bitch.
Oh, yeah, well, like I said, I kind of explained that already. Yeah. That makes sense.
But
I think any of us would be in that situation.
I get that. And sure.
We all want to believe that in a zombie apocalypse we'd be a badass, gun-toting, motherfucker. But let's be honest, that's not the truth. No, most of us would die.
No, you're right. And it's fine. And they portray Marlene as this badass.
They really do.
Female character. And they
follows the rules, does the mission.
And yeah, and throughout, there's a whole battalion of them. Most of them get wiped out in the beginning. That's where... Yeah,
I think there's only a couple of them left.
Yeah, but that's where we see the first 2 women death scenes.
Yeah.
And then everyone else dies too.
The truck gets hit by a blue and their heads hit the wall on the floor. And
meanwhile,
the brain splatter, they're dead.
Meanwhile, all the other guys get killed in epic fashion. And except for
this is Japan in the 90s, come on.
Except for the captain gets thrown out of a car and he's injured for the next 4 episodes. so only 3.
Which is really odd about the captain being injured, because there's times when he can barely do anything. He needs to sit and rest for long periods of time. And then there's times before him needing to sit and rest for long periods of time that he's standing up and giving orders. His injuries weren't really consistent.
And they had all those sleepers at the airport where they were attacked, where they all died. Did they get them from the same place as Yuji did? I missed that too.
No, they only got Yuji from that place.
Oh, so they were collected.
Yes, from different places.
I gotcha. But all those sleepers get killed essentially, and I lost my place. I'm sorry. All right.
So then they end up leaving.
I wanted to say, so only 4 survive the attack.
Pretty much the initial attack.
Yuji Kaido, Marlene Angel, the captain, I didn't write his name down, and Joey.
Joey's cool.
Joey.
I like Joey a lot.
I want to get into Joey in a little bit in a second. So they're traveling, and since their mission failed, they had to change parameters, and they're going to Korea to try and find communications or something.
They gotta communicate with the space station, find a place where they can lift off.
Right. So they get on a boat. And then they start introducing the friendship between Joey and Yuji with a song.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a weird bonding moment.
Yeah, it was the only bonding moment.
And it was pretty awkward, to be honest.
And
they're humming this, which sounds like a child's tune, but it must have been like a popular song.
Right. And that is one of the problems I have with the series. They throw these characters at you, give you 1 or 2 moments to get used to them, and then 2 episodes later, they're dead. So it's Joey dies, and 2 episodes later, and Yuji acts like this is this big deal, this is his first friend and stuff like that, and it's
on screen time it's 2 episodes, but in their lifetime it was probably at least a few weeks.
But I get you, but there wasn't enough character moments to justify his reaction to his death.
I'll give you that.
So
you just have to believe. They're taking liberties with it. You just have to believe that their bonding also took place off screen. And
I would be okay with that if it wasn't every single time. Alright, so they get to Korea and the Blue are attacking, and this is where Yuji starts to get a little more frustrated. He's calling them monsters and stuff for not helping the humans that they left behind, trying to save them. And of course, everybody dies, and he failed to save them. And...
Well, the Yoon arc was... I liked that a lot, when Yoon died.
Well...
And the captain blew himself up.
And the captain blows him up in epic fashion, but everybody dies. But, yeah...
Well, I mean, it's an apocalypse. What are you going to do? People die.
People die, but it was just like, yeah, I know where you're going with this here, you know?
But the moment when Yoon died, I thought was really good. And I that's obviously the trigger for him to want to fight nonstop.
Well, yeah, because that leaves, essentially after this fight, it leaves him and Marlene. Mm-hmm. They're the only two left.
Yoon, by the way, is a child on Earth.
Oh, yeah.
No one important, honestly. Just a child on Earth.
According to
he tried to save her, and she died right in front of him.
According to the space station, she really is not important. Anybody left behind is trash, according to them.
I mean, you're fighting a war. You don't have time to...
Well, no, I know. I'm just giving context.
Yeah. So, it makes sense, though.
I wasn't begrudging them, but Yuji really begrudged them and judged the hell out of them for it.
Well, he's from a time when there wasn't war. You know what I mean? He's a tree hugger, essentially.
Yeah, and his evolution does not justify where it goes.
Well, really the only arc, well, I guess 2 points where he starts to care about fighting was when Yoon died and Joey was his name, right?
Yeah, Joey.
Those were the only 2 deaths that really meant anything to him. You're just supposed to believe that that's what's triggering him to want to fight.
Yeah. And, I was going to save this for the end, but you know what? I watched the movie behind this, too. And it's pretty much a series in fast forward, essentially. And it's got some scenes that are different, but it has, like, reanimated. Like, in the beginning of the first episode, Yuji's hair is short in the series, but in this one, it's long. Mm. So they show him cutting his hair and stuff like that, and just stupid little things like that. And I just want to bring up the differences as we go along, because it's just going to be easier for me.
Yeah, it's fine.
Easier for me to remember. But up until this point, they kind of did the first episode in the movie almost verbatim, and then skipped a lot. Like, when they got to Korea, Yoon wasn't even in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just going through Korea, and they showed Joey's death, and his death in that, and context in that made no sense at all. Captain, in his epic thing, he just kills over in a car, dies at the end. Everyone's dead, leaving just Marlene and then Yuji. And so from there in Korea, in the show, they go on to a bunch of episodes developing the 2 characters. But in the movie, they jump ahead almost straight to the space station.
I mean, it's a movie. They're putting 26 episodes, which are 22 minutes apiece, into an hour and a half, 2 hours.
But I just want to bring that in context, because
they have to chop it up. They probably did a huge disservice to the series.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. But in some aspects, they did some things better. But it was still confusing, is what I'm trying to get at. So, alright. So now we have Marlene and Yuji left in the series. In the TV series. I have to specify now that I'm going back and forth. And then they're traveling through deserts, because they have to they're in Korea and they have to get to Russia, to the space station. And they run across this former soldier named Dice.
Yeah, I mean, that whole arc was
Yeah, so, I mean, he's just another plot device to help them get from Bane. They kill some Blue.
But he didn't die.
No, he didn't die.
Yeah, that's probably the one side character that didn't die.
Yeah. And then they get to the Oasis episode where they find the Nomads. Mm-hmm. And it's because Yuji gets separated from
Marlene.
And at this point, he's falling all over her and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And she's kind of, like, still kind of herself. But a little bit, like...
She's getting a little softer.
She's getting a little softer around him. But he finds these people, and then...
They're almost like gypsies, but more nomad-y.
But my problem is, he saves them from, like, bandits or soldiers that decided they weren't doing it or nothing.
Still fighting the Blue, but they're not a part of,
Right.
Yeah, they're not a part of the space station. They're on Earth.
He just kind of says, fuck it, I'm staying here. And he picks up a girlfriend, and he's like, I don't...
Yeah, that was really odd how she just started sleeping with him out of nowhere.
And the girls just throw themselves at Yuji for some reason. I don't get that either.
Yeah, it was a little odd.
But, so he picks himself up girlfriend. It's almost like he's moved on from Arlene, and that's like, he's like, screw this. So all that stuff that happened before is like, okay, this is a character change out of nowhere.
He was just trying to forget about everything and just live his life. They're peaceful, they're living. Why fight if you don't have to?
But at this point... it almost felt like he was cheating.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. Because him and Marlene were progressing in a relationship.
So that kind of soured me on his character, too. Yeah. Especially how the series ends up turning out. Mm. And I was just like, So, yeah, his character just kept getting worse and worse for me as we progress. And that's why I'm going through it like this mythology.
He gets better. He redeems himself.
I don't agree he does.
Let's go. Come on.
But, so then they get to Russia. There's a few episodes in between. None of it really matters.
Yeah, not really. He ends up leaving the Nomads. Doesn't really matter why.
He left the Nomads because Marlene
was in danger. And whatever.
And then Dice takes...
It was filler, honestly.
Dice, the side character, takes him to Russia, and he turns around and leaves.
I like Dice a bit. Dice even mentioned, without Yuji present to Marlene, that he was like, oh, I could have sworn you would have been the one to pop his cherry.
Right, exactly.
Dice was a cool character.
Yeah, he was a cool character, but that's even more to my point. That's what made it even me feel more like he was cheating on her, you know? It's like...
It was obvious to everyone, not just the viewers, to side characters.
Yeah.
That they were gonna be together.
Right. So it was like, okay. It was just a weird thing to put in for no reason at all, it seemed like.
Yeah, it was a little odd.
Like, so they get to Russia, and then apparently there are robots in this world now, too.
Yeah, I mean, well, not giant robots, just little drones that work on, like, a computer system.
And there's Defender drones that are somehow the program corrupted. Now they're shooting humans and Blue. Yeah, the program was corrupted somehow, so they were supposed to only fight the Blue, but they're fighting everything now. And this is a strange episode. This is the one with that crazy guy who was obsessed with the sleeper that they found. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, so... Oh yeah, the girl sleeper. Yeah, so he was voiced by, I forget his name, the sword guy in Yu Yu Hakusho. Okay. Yeah, so, or at least they sounded... Kuwabara. I don't know the name of the actor. No, the actual... The demon guy. Oh, okay, Hiei. Hiei, yeah. I don't know the actor's name, though. Yeah, because it sounded just like him. Mm-hmm. And he's in... And so this crazy guy, pretty much, he's the computer whiz of it. And, yeah, he's hacking. And he's hacking. He ends up fixing the drones. And they're fighting and stuff, but he goes crazy and starts trying to steal... The spaceship. Yeah, with the sleeper girl still asleep in it, and he's like, we're going to go away, and where are you going to go? And he never wants to wake her, because this whole thing is, they want to wake her and bring her into this hellhole, but she's perfect. Yeah. Where are you going to go, man? Yeah, I mean, we're safe. They didn't establish that there are other planets or anything. Yeah, so, or any safe zones on Earth. So I don't know where he was going, but it was strange. Anyway, he doesn't even get off the ground, because... The power goes out on one of the things, they go down, and there's a new Blue eating electricity. Yeah, that was a little odd. So, of course, the Yuji is not part of the military, and Marlene's about to die, and they have that whole little conflict. Where he's trying to save her, but the captain at the base, Marlene's off defending them, by the way. The captain at the base won't let him go to go save her. Right, so that's the whole stupid arc. That's, that was really unneeded. Yeah. Why give him a gun if you don't want him to fight? Right, exactly. I mean, they didn't want them to fight in the first place because that's against their orders and stuff like that, but whatever. Which makes even less sense where they go up in the space station where they start training them how to fight. So, okay, whatever. Yeah, why be upset when it's just her and him? They eventually get really up when she gets up on the space station with Yuji. The director and all of them get really upset with her for teaching him how to fight, how to shoot. But he would have died. Are you guys idiots? It was just two of them against all of the Blue trying to get to a space station. He needed to fight. That council was frustratingly stupid at points. Oh my god, yeah, let's go back though. Yes, we'll get to that. Sorry, we jumped ahead. Yeah, anyway. So, it's fun. So, this Blue is eating the electricity, but... They can't. They're afraid to attack it for some reason. It doesn't make any sense. Well, I mean, they're afraid of shooting it because if they miss, they could hit the reactor because it's eating power straight from the reactor. So they have knives, and they show that when the maniac starts trying to kill it. Yeah, the maniac is the guy that's trying to fly off in the spaceship with the sleeper. I forgot his name. This doesn't matter. Yeah, no. But the Blue, being attacked by this guy, attaches from that and attaches to him and starts like integrating himself into him, and so obviously they get everything up and going, and then they shoot off into space. And then, of course, the twist ended. For some reason, they didn't make sure that thing was dead, and it snuck on board with them.
Yeah.
Or, no, wait, maybe they took it with them for to...
Well, they definitely would have taken the sleeper girl, but I don't know why they took him in the blue.
That didn't make any sense. They showed up in the space station that they were analyzing it. Maybe they took it because it was a new specimen and they wanted to learn it.
Yeah, maybe.
So, I mean, either way, it was stupid because the thing's not dead yet, and it's kind of integrated with him. It comes back and tries to... and almost stabs Marlene, but of course, Yuji jumps in the way. And they share... Yuji and Marlene share a kiss and up in space and stuff like that, so...
Their relationship progresses,
essentially, yes. So, they get to the space station. And this is where the movie and the show really differs. Because from this point on, in the movie, Marlene does not see Yuji again.
Really?
Yeah. The next time she sees him is on Earth when he's already in the sleeper brigade. And he's insane. And she's like, what did you do? What did they do to you? And they have that little thing at the end there where they fight and stuff. And then essentially she beats him in the fight.
Which doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense on two fronts, and I'll get to that too. But she beats him in the fight and brings him back to his senses in the middle of they jump around because how in the later parts they go from different city to city to city. Mm-hmm. Well, that's like a montage in the movie. It's all one big active operation there. And so she finds him and she beats him, and then it ends with her beating him and him saying, "Thank you for saving me," and then it just stops. It was you would have to really watch it, the whole movie, to really get the context of it. But it wasn't an ending. It was just completely different from the series. Mm-hmm. It actually wouldn't have been a bad ending if it was tacked on to the series, in context with everything else. But it really didn't. It was just felt rushed, the movie, and all in all, I mean, it was all right, is what I'm saying. The movie is, but if it's kind of here's Blue Gender if you don't want to watch the whole series.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you were interested in it,
it's a recap of the series, pretty much.
Well, it has a different ending and different things, but it was definitely
watch the series.
Yeah.
Anyway,
take your
so
pick.
They're at the space station.
So they get to the space station, and this is where the counselor's mad at Marlene. But what I don't understand is they won't even tell her that he survived or anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, military. So that's sort of explained in the next episode, I believe.
Yeah, but here's my thing.
The sleepers are supposed to be very secretive. It's a secret brigade. They're training them secretly. No one really knows about them. So wanting to keep her in the dark about it does make a bit of sense. But since she already knew about it, it would have been smart to explain it and just, up her class.
They even mentioned this in there, and this in the series. Why are they keeping this secret? Everybody's going nuts that they don't know if they're going to win, and they have this secret weapon that they can
because use. They know what could happen with the B cells. That was explained to them, and then they chose to do it anyway. They know that the B cells are blue cells.
I understand that, but they reveal...
So they're keeping it secret from everyone.
They reveal what the sleepers are going to do.
Well, when they go to fight them, yeah.
So why not say this is what we're going to do with the sleepers right from the beginning?
Why do that in any government? Every government does it in the world.
It was just so frustrating.
Everything's secret until it's not.
Yeah, it was just so frustrating. It was just we're keeping it secret for plot convenience.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, in real governments they do that, so it does make sense.
So essentially what they do is Marlene's in trouble for letting Yuji fight.
Which is stupid.
So she has to go get retraining, and of course...
So stupid.
Of course
I think that was more or less their way of trying to keep her quiet. Hey, go do this, where you can't do anything but train all day.
So she's going to retrain it, and in her time with Yuji, she's kind of softened to humanity and doesn't want to just kill off random innocents and stuff like that because...
But what's weird is it was such a huge transition, going from the badass military bitch that doesn't give a fuck about anyone to she cared a little bit on the journey to the space station, but as soon as she's on the space station, she does a complete 180. She's a tree hugger now, essentially, that knows how to fight.
Well, but here's my problem with it. She essentially goes from the badass to the damsel in distress.
For the most part, yeah.
And that really pissed me off, because she was actually an interesting character.
She was.
Up until that point.
I mean, she became an interesting character again a bit later on. But I think she did. But for right here, I think you are correct. She was just a damsel in distress.
Yeah, but so...
I need Yuji.
Yeah, I need Yuji, but they did show her pretty much take down this whole space station to get the Yuji.
Not much of a damsel in distress, right?
Not at that point. That's not even what I'm getting at. So they finally show she's failing her test, and she's just under surveillance the whole time.
She keeps failing her test because she keeps thinking of the people.
Yeah. Instead
of killing the monsters.
And she's under surveillance. They're keeping her under a close watch and stuff like that. So she's like, fuck this. They won't tell me what's going on. I'm going to find out what's going on myself. And she pretty much does. She pretty much
infiltrates the space station.
Right. And pretty much finds out what she wants to know with a little help from the director guy.
Miyagi.
Yeah,
Miyagi.
Yeah, I did write it down somewhere.
But she holds him hostage a bit. He gives her some information as to where Yuji is. She gets there, and by the time she gets there, they finally caught up with her.
Yeah.
And then
Seno Miyagi's his name.
That's his name. So then Miyagi opens the door and she falls through.
And she finds him, and then she's in trouble again. When they go up to the council, she gets Yuji and him. They're on an elevator apparently that leads up to the council for some reason.
This room that is just a room is for some reason an elevator. Okay. Very oddly specific how this room's an elevator, the room that they happen to be in.
Whatever. That's just anime stuff, so I was like, whatever. So she's in trouble again, and they're about I don't know what they were going to do with her, but they tell her everything.
Yeah, that was odd.
They just tell her everything.
We're not going to tell you anything, and now we'll tell you everything.
And then I don't know what they were going to do about it, because they sounded like they were going to punish her in some way.
Yeah.
But...
Well, the director chimed in, he hacked in.
Well, he hacked in and saved the plot, sure, but at that point, I don't know what the hell they were...
I think they were going to kill her.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think they were going to kill her if the director didn't hack in.
Well, the director hacks in and says it would be interesting to see these two continue on their teamwork.
Yes, because so far, he's progressed quite a bit with her. Right. Why break that environment?
So they go to the Sleeper Brigade, were introduced to the rest of the cast, essentially, halfway through the series.
Yeah. We're on episode 12, 13, 14, something like that.
This is what I don't understand. They put Marlene on this squad to help with Yuji, but then they separate the two, essentially. Because
they're typically together when they're fighting.
Sure, but at the same time, it just didn't make sense because there's this 12-year-old girl named Alicia.
Yeah, Alicia, well, I wouldn't say she's 12. She's probably 14, 15.
She's underage, let's just put that.
Yeah.
And she's throwing herself at Yuji, and Yuji's actually considering it at some point.
For like a split moment, he was sort of considering it. But yes, that was a bit odd. At the same time, I think he's, 19? He's still pretty young.
True.
Was a 15, 16-year-old and a 19-year-old?
I'm not even begrudging it because she took him into a sex room, essentially.
Yeah. Which sounds odd, but she was definitely the aggressor in this relationship.
Yeah, so she took him, but they revealed that she wasn't even taking him. It was a shortcut to go see the sunrise.
Yeah, that was odd. Well, anyway, so they meet up, in the room with all the different sleepers and everything. The Sleeper Brigade.
Right.
He's like, but she's just a kid.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have that many sleepers, and...
But Alicia goes off with Yuji, and then Rick comes in, and he's hitting on Marlene for the rest of the series. So it's
Rick has some morals. He's not hitting on a child.
Well, I'm not even begrudging her. I was rooting for Rick towards the end, honestly. Yeah. Because I was...
He was a little forward.
He was forward, but you know what?
He was a little forward.
But you know what? He didn't do anything she didn't want him to do. Every time she said stop, he stopped.
That's true. That's very true.
And he was
But their first date was literally taking her to a gigantic orgy room.
But
That's odd.
But at the same time, she knows what that station's all about.
She does know.
And she saw Yuji walk away with Alicia.
Yeah, towards a sort of direction to a different orgy room.
Yeah, so it just kind of...
She saw that, and then she was like, oh, okay, let's go.
Yeah, so it was kind of like, okay.
They ended up not sleeping together. He just got some gropage on.
Right. So, but he actually cares about Marlene, Rick. So it's...
Yeah.
So towards the... I didn't like him at first because of the forward scene, but by the end, I was like, go,
there wasn't one scene towards the end where he told Yuji, keep Marlene safe.
Right.
So yeah, I'll give you that.
I was like, okay.
Seems like a decent guy.
Go.
Not trying to hit on 15-year-olds and wants Marlene to be safe.
He was honest with what he wanted, so I don't begrudge him for it. More people should be that way, honestly. If you're just honest with what you want, you never know what you're going to get, right? The worst they can say is no.
All right, let's go back to the Sleeper Brigade when they first entered.
Those are the main ones, and the other one is Tony, who is essentially the antagonist.
Yes.
Throughout the rest of the series, we don't realize that, but
he's another sleeper.
He's the awesome sleeper that Yuji gets obsessed with.
He's older. He's about probably Eugene's age, and he's been training for a while, so he's what a sleeper will become.
Right. And this is where I realized that maybe there's some homosexual things going on here, because in the beginning, he was having those flashbacks about his friend, and, like, we're gonna meet up after you wake up and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden, he's obsessed with this other guy, out of nowhere, and it's just like...
competition. That's all it was.
That's the excuse, sure. But anyway, so the Sleeper Brigade are they're infected with the B cells.
Yeah, and they're training. They get special mechs that somehow merge with their B cells and activate them, but they didn't really explain that.
And this is where my problem came in with the Yuji character again. Because now he has superpowers.
Yeah, strength, speed, heightened senses, everything.
And all of a sudden, him and this Tony, I excuse Tony because I didn't know Tony, but all of a sudden, Yuji's better than everybody.
Well...
And
they didn't explain it, but using the mech and the training heightens everything.
I
and
get it,
better.
and I just hate stories like that. They build up...
I think it should have been longer than a couple episodes.
Yeah, I mean, if they showed him improving and that he's like a prodigy and stuff like that, and maybe beating Marlene and everything, because Marlene goes from badass here to pretty much incompetent.
Well, I wouldn't say incompetent. She still kills Blue with her mech and everything.
She does, but she's hesitating all the time, and she needs to be saved an awful lot of the time.
Well, that's true.
From here on out, and he turns into this ultimate killing machine, and he gets really, really weird, and so does Tony.
His anger shoots through the roof, but that's because of the B cells.
The B cells are making him angry and just focus on killing. He doesn't care about the human lives or anything like that.
He just needs to get better. He has to get better. He has to beat Tony.
Because of Tony.
He has to beat Tony. He has to be better than him.
Yeah, because of Tony. Exactly.
And because he's not good yet, he gets really, really angry about it.
And then he starts, like, being a dick towards Marlene and stuff.
I mean, the anger.
Yeah, the anger is only an excuse for so long.
She keeps trying to get in his way. He just has to get better.
But it was just such a complete 180 turn from his character.
Yeah, that was... So, like, I said the same thing about Marlene, how she just did a 180. The same thing is true for Yuji. He goes from pretty much being a tree hugger to pretty much being a total badass. A super angry asshole badass, but still a badass.
Yeah.
And at least with him, the explanation is supposed to be the activation of the B cells. But it's not organic. It doesn't feel right.
It feels like magic to me. Okay, we're waving this away.
Yeah, you can't give me plot development and all this backstory for a character and then just snap your fingers and
say this
something
is
else.
Yeah, this is how it is from now on.
That is bad writing. They should have had at least 3 or 4 episodes of him transforming into this character.
Right, I mean, exactly. And then so they get through their training and stuff, and then they send them all to Earth to start clearing out the
first
nests.
mission with B cells.
Right. They start clearing out all the nests that the Blue have, all the big nests essentially, and this is where Yuji becomes extremely good at what he does.
Yes, this is where he progresses.
But this is also where we start seeing what Tony's up to.
Yes.
So
he ends up breaking away from the group at one point, and he's like cradling a blue egg.
Yeah, I mean he breaks it at the end of it.
Well, yeah, it's because who shows up? Someone shows up and meets him.
Oh right, yeah.
I forget who it is, but that's why he breaks it.
It was just one of the Expendables.
Yeah, so that's why he breaks it. Is because they can't let him know. He can't let them know that.
So essentially, the blue cells are overtaking him, and he's becoming the leader of the blue. Essentially,
what is interesting is the personality differences between Tony and Yuji.
Yeah,
Tony's very calm. He even seen him meditating a couple of times, and Yuji's extremely angry.
I didn't have a problem with the Tony character, honestly. He was.
Yeah, no, I liked him. But it was just funny seeing their personality differences.
Right.
They're both sleepers. Their B cells are both activating, but they act completely differently.
Right, and that's what also kind of why it made me a little mad at the Yuji character as he kept evolving, because Tony's pretty much being mind controlled essentially by evolution.
Yeah.
So, and you would think that.
Well, we think that until the last couple episodes. We think that in one of the last few episodes, Tony, probably last 23rd episode, I think it was. Tony's talking to Yuji, and Yuji's like, or Tony's like, yes, it's controlling me, but I can control it. I can be the one that makes this happen. So he is being controlled to a point, but at the same time, he's conscious of it, and he's choosing it.
He's choosing to be a part of the Blue because he sees himself as part of the Blue.
Yeah.
And that's all fine and well, but Yuji doesn't even come close to that.
Well, his anger keeps shooting up. I think what was going to happen with him is what happened with Aisha. I don't think he would have been in control of it. I think he would have just snapped and then just been a part of the Blue, and he wouldn't have been him anymore. Because when Aisha turns, you don't actually see her turn.
It's Alicia, by the way.
Whatever. I like Aisha.
It's Alicia.
So when Alicia turns, you don't get to see it happen. It's off screen, but she pretty much isn't there. She's just this puppet for the Blue.
Yeah, and she kind of just disappears after a while. Tony's like, "Come with me," because she gets abandoned by Yuji in the battle.
Well, just back it up.
Well, that's what happens.
Yes.
In the battle, they essentially everybody splits off.
Well, this battle really isn't too important. So they're battling the nest.
So the sleeper brigade is it, but what we failed to forget is that up in the space station, Marlene starts discovering something's not right here, and she goes to the director guy, Miyagi, yes. And he tells her essentially, the High Council is pretty much using these B cells when they're doing bad things here. And
they knew what the B cells would do, and they were doing it anyway.
So they essentially create a coup up in the space station, and Miyagi and his men and Marlene take the space station from the High Council. And the
High Council escapes on a space pod, pretty much.
Yeah, because there's two space stations. There's a military station and then a medical station.
And the medical station has 10,000 sleepers. I don't remember the number.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Not sleepers, but just the populace sleeping in cryogenics.
Right. So
there's also a mining base on the moon, but you only know there's only one line in the show that says that.
Oh, I didn't know that. I missed it.
Yeah.
So they end up, the High Council ends up escaping to the medical center, and I keep forgetting his name. Why can't I? Miyagi. I think I should remember that kind of name. But anyway,
Miyagi takes control,
and he takes control. But Marlene's up on the space station, and then ends up after they win the coup. Essentially, then she goes down after Yuji, and that's where
for the second sleeper operation. The first sleeper operation,
you're
they
right.
end up winning, but it doesn't really matter. Nothing really crazy happens. They go back, then the coup happens, then they go back down for another mission.
No, what happened
but Marlene stays.
They win the first operation, and everyone's high on the win and stuff like that. So they're like, all right, let's do a second one. So they send all their best soldiers, the sleepers, back down to Earth, and that's when Miyagi does the coups.
That's when the coup happens for the second mission.
But Marlene is what Miyagi...
She missed it. She missed the drop.
She missed the drop, so she wasn't with him when it happened. Mm-hmm. So once they win the coup, she gets a ship and goes back down. Meanwhile, back on the surface, Tony and Alicia and Yuji are all fighting, and they all get separated. Mm-hmm. Because Tony and Yuji are so obsessed with killing Blue, we think, because Tony is actually going to do something else. So they separate out. And then Alicia gets separated, and Tony's like, why don't you come with me? And that's when she gets
turned, but it's off screen.
It's off screen, so we don't see what happens until later. So, Marlene gets down to Earth, and Yuji's just insane with rage.
Yeah, just fighting like crazy. He starts assaulting her.
Yeah, and they start fighting.
She's trying to stop him. They start fighting.
Right.
Her neck breaks. She has to get into a different mech at some point.
Yeah, he kicks her ass, which... At this point, I know he's super strong, but I just didn't like the fact that he all of a sudden
overwhelmingly won.
Yeah.
It should have been more of a fight for sure.
And then she gets into another mech and manages to take him down, but it was kind of cheap at the same time. It was like, did she just ram the mechs thing together?
And then, they went through a building into the ground.
Yeah, and then...
the mechs are broken, so they get out, and then he's cured somehow.
No, not yet. Because she's like, Yuji, it's me.
Oh, right.
And then he starts shooting her.
Yeah.
And
they're grazing her.
One went in her shoulder.
That's a graze.
No, it went in her shoulder.
Nah, she's fine.
Yeah, of course she's fine.
She's a big girl.
Uh-huh. Alright, so... Anyway, she talks him into it, and all of a sudden, he's cured.
Yeah.
She reaches him and
he's dumb for a few episodes.
Yeah.
He just wants to sit there and mumble and think about things.
Right.
So she has to take care of him for a few episodes till they get back to the space station, pretty much.
Right. So meanwhile, the operation's essentially done because I think they win that fight, right?
Did they? I don't think so.
Oh, maybe they did lose.
Doesn't really matter. Again, it was just plot.
Anyway,
what matters is when they get back to the space station.
Everybody, all the group return to the space station except for Yuji, Tony, all the sleepers essentially, Marlene and Alicia. So everyone's back, and the coup's still happening, and then Tony shows up in a spaceship, and Miyagi's like, "No, don't let him in here. Something's wrong." So he goes over to the civilian, where the doctor medical is, and the High Council in their ignorance says, "Yes, we got a sleeper." Let's him in, and of course he's got a ship full of blue, and so the blue start murdering everybody
they kill everyone pretty much
in the medical center.
And then Tony takes over the ship and wants to ram it into the military base.
Explain the cabbages.
Oh, so they don't eat the people immediately. What they do is they sort of chew them up and spit them out. Because apparently one human isn't enough energy for them. So they spit them into these gigantic balls of multiple humans of this green goo, and then eventually when they have time, they come back and eat that.
Yeah, so there's green cabbages all over the place. Anyway, so he takes over, and then...
And he's trying to ram the spaceship into the military base.
And so forth and so forth. So they gotta stop that. So Marlene and Yuji come up, and Miyagi tells them to go over there and stop them, because of course...
Essentially they do that.
And they go over there and they stop them. And it's the whole epic battle thing.
Yep. Fighting the blue, getting to Tony.
Right.
Ken eventually dies.
Rick.
Ken, whatever. Shawn Chemmel. Goku.
Yeah, well, we should explain that. So, eventually, while they're trying to stop Tony in there, Rick goes with Marlene and Yuji. And they run across Alicia. And she's hypnotized. And... Yuji's got his humanity back, so he's like, we can't kill her, and stuff like that. And then she goes to try and kill Yuji. Marlene can't kill her either, because now she's the same as him. So Rick kills her. So not kills her, he
shoots her in the shoulder.
He shoots her in the shoulder and knocks her down. Knocks her out.
Almost like the chest, actually.
Yeah, so now Rick's hurt because he got hit.
On the sides are all ripped up from one of the blues.
So he's taking Alicia to escape because... They pretty much accomplished what they wanted to accomplish because they were freeing all the sleepers.
Yeah, but Yuji and Marlene still have to go to Tony.
Yeah, so they go after Tony, and I don't remember how that...
So they get to Tony, and they're talking, and there's a couple blue there. They end up fighting. Marlene shoots a couple blue. She tries shooting Tony, but misses. And eventually, one of them shoots and kills Tony.
Oh, no.
Well, we think he dies.
Yeah, we think he dies. And then the day is saved, but of course...
he's not quite dead yet.
And Alicia shows up and...
But when Rick dies, Alicia wakes up. She was asleep when Rick was trying to get her out.
Right.
Rick gets killed by a blue, which is pretty funny, actually.
It was a pretty amusing scene.
It rams into him, just starts eating, and then she wakes up and you just hear the blue eating him.
Yeah, and she just walks away. She goes to Tony and says pretty much, okay, you were wrong.
And he's trying... He's been shot and he's dying, but he's still trying to ram the spaceship into the military base.
Alicia's like, you were wrong, but I'm here with you. And they die together in a giant explosion. So, this is like episode 23 at this point.
Pretty much.
I honestly think they only needed one more episode to wrap it up, and then they could have wrapped this whole series up and it would have been fine.
I think it was fun.
Because now we're getting into the ending, and I hated this ending. So it's episode 23, and I think they only need one more episode, but there's still 3 episodes left. And it's like, everything's already done. All the story plots...
Well, the blue haven't been defeated yet. That's the whole point of the show, is defeating the blue.
Yeah,
Gotta win. Gotta get back to Earth.
But here's the thing. It's an anime, based on a manga. You know this continues on. And this could easily continue on and on and on and on.
Well, it could, but mangas don't last forever, just like any story. They have to end.
Yeah, but this felt so cheap, this ending.
You're right. I agree with you on that. So the ending happens in 3 episodes. Pretty much they go down to Earth.
Well, before that, we just got to wrap up the relationship aspect of this. So, in like the next episode, the wrap-up episode of everything...
Right, Yuji and Marlene get it on finally.
They finally sleep together and... Whatever.
Well, I mean, plot device, it happens. Yeah, it was building up. It is a romance.
This is where it was all leading anyway, so blah, blah, blah.
They finally get together. Yay!
So, they find some kind of signal on Earth again. Something's happening on Earth, so they go back down. And At this point,
to investigate pretty
what
much.
we should have mentioned, Miyagi said sleepers are bad at this point. Everybody,
with the exception of Yuji and probably a couple others.
but all the space station now hates Yuji because he's a sleeper, and they think this is all his fault and stuff like that.
They didn't really show that too much, but that's how he feels about it. Yeah,
and they kind of showed it with them. So is that Yuji Kaido? Well, we got to go somewhere else now. Yeah. So he was kind of being an outcast. So they're like, all right, we're going to go back to Earth, and we're not going to come back. Essentially, so they go back to Earth. The Blue are gone all of a sudden, and apparently they were all migrated into this
to a certain spot in South America.
Yeah. So okay, what's going on here?
They go and investigate.
Yeah, they go and investigate, and apparently the Blue had a suicide gene inside of them.
Yeah, that was a little odd. The whole point is that the human populace is gone, so their point of living is null and void. They're now the stress on the planet because there's nothing else stressing the planet but them, so now they're supposed to kill themselves.
Yeah, I get that. I just think it was really, really cheap.
It was cheap. That's my issue with the ending as well. In those 3-4 episodes, they should have shown some montages of the military fighting the Blue, and eventually, in like the last episode, overcoming it. Yeah, that's what they should have done.
I agree with you. There was a much better way to do it. This was just like, okay, everything's dead now, everything's peachy keen. So
there was like one monster Blue they had to fight at the end.
Yeah,
so didn't have a weak spot.
They go down to a cave. They try to introduce you to a new Texas accent kind of guy that ends up getting killed anyway. I don't know what the point was bringing.
Yeah, they should have used Dice. Yeah. Dice should have came back for that. That would have been great.
So they go down and they find, I guess, the Queen Blue. Yeah. Who comes out of it. And they, of course...
weak spot. No clitoris. They must kill it some other way.
Yeah, so, of course, he kills all the support. And
yeah.
And then Yuji, of course, kills it.
But he almost goes full on Blue there. He gets a little angry.
Yeah, but, I mean...
Not all the way. He stops.
And then there's this magical light ahead.
Yeah. There's this weird orb that's transmitting light.
And so he's like, all right, I gotta go alone. I was like, what do you mean you gotta go alone?
That actually makes sense, because he's the only one with B cells. And he even explained that. We don't know what would happen if Marlene came with me. You know what I mean?
I wasn't complaining about it, but that's essentially how the conversation goes.
Yeah.
We've like, I've been with you all this time. What do you mean I'm not going? You're not going. Okay. So she walks out. And
she said she was pregnant, by the way.
Because they didn't... Throughout the last 3 episodes, she's holding her stomach down like this. They don't mention it. It's like, oh, you're pregnant now. Of course you are. Sure.
She really shouldn't have been in combat if she was fucking pregnant.
And it's like, okay, now you're just his pregnant wife.
She's not that bad. She was still killing people. That's what she was resorting to.
Let's be real here.
Her character wasn't a full blown.
Her character went from badass to mom at the end. That's what happened.
But she's still a badass in her own way, and a mom. You can't be both.
You can, but not in the way they portrayed her, where she was just pretty much became incompetent throughout the last...
She wasn't completely incompetent, but I think it's just the contrast between someone with B cells and someone without.
Even so, her aim increasingly got bad from...
Oh yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd have to agree with that.
So it's like they kind of neutered her in the end.
Anyway, so he goes into the light.
And then we have what's it? It's failing me, the word where he sees everything.
Yeah, it was a little odd.
It's this.
He's one with the world.
Yeah, the stupid God ending.
Yeah, that was a little bit stupid. And then he's able to end the Blue pretty much.
And he ends the Blue by walking into the light, and it's like, okay.
And we're not sure if he'll come out. Marlene's sleeping on the edge of like a cliff, watching him, waiting for him.
And then the ending is him showing up and...
You're right. We can have a life together.
Yeah. It was really, really bad. I don't know why you like it.
It was cheesy. But I like the fact that there was a clear ending.
I agree with you.
There are so many stories, there are so many anime, there are so many that do not give you a clear ending. So I'm happy with that there was an ending.
But that doesn't justify the bad ending.
No, it really doesn't. So they could have done one episode or half an episode with montage of the military fighting the Blue. And then the last 2 episodes could have been them fighting and winning.
I am not disagreeing with you about the needing an ending, because I agree. I hate open-ended endings. Just give me a clear ending. But just because you give me an ending doesn't mean it's justified, you know? It has to fit the story. And that was just like, all right, here we go. Wrapped up in a nice pretty package. And it's like, no. And it just left a sour taste in my mouth, and I did not like it at all.
I liked the premise. I liked most of the execution except for the last few episodes.
I felt It wasn't a bad premise at all. I felt that it got a little bit repetitive with the monsters and stuff at times. It could have used more variety, maybe not have them all look the same.
Yeah, there was like 5 or 6 different varieties, and that was it.
So, I mean, but other than that, there is a killer apocalyptic monsters with mechs, essentially.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if you like that, you like that. If you don't, I didn't have a problem with that.
So overall, I'll give the series a 7 or 8 out of 10. It was good. It had some glaring flaws.
I'm going to have to give 2 ratings here, because I agree with you, probably a 7, maybe a 6 objective.
Yeah.
7.
That's fair.
A 7 for the 23 episodes that were actually decent, and then a 6 with the ending. Then, my personal opinion, I didn't like it.
Well, that's because you hate mechs and giant monsters and stuff.
Yeah, but the ending really soured me. That ending really, really, really soured me, and I couldn't get over it. I didn't like Yuji. Hopefully the next episode will finally give me a character that I can like. A main protagonist that I like.
Let's try it. Alright, so we're going to spin the wheel for next episode. The category is C. So let's see what we get.
Alright.
Something good.
The wheel's very slow this time.
Yeah, it's really slow. What's going on? Come on. You can do it. Come on, wheel. Here we go.
I guess there was too many on there.
I don't know. There we go.
Chivalry of a Failed Knight.
I know nothing of it.
Neither do I.
All right. So next episode, we will be reviewing Chivalry of a Failed Knight.
All right. Talk to you then.
TJ and Shawn.
Oh, God, your stupid radio, actually.